A janitor who never earned more than $30,000 a year died and quietly left behind $8 million. And almost nobody who knew him had any idea this was happening right under their nose. His name was Ronald Read. He pumped gas and swept floors for most of his life in a small town in Vermont. And when he passed away, the entire town was stunned to learn what he had built in silence over 6 decades. This was not a lottery win, it was not an inheritance, and it was not some secret stock tip. It was a method so simple and so available to ordinary Americans that most people outside the United States have genuinely never even heard of it. By the end of this video, I am going to show you the exact mechanism Ronald Read used, the specific numbers behind it, and how this same door is sitting wide open for ordinary working people across America right now, including people who feel like they are starting with absolutely nothing. In the next few minutes, I am going to walk you through exactly how someone with an ordinary paycheck, not a Wall Street salary, was able to quietly build a fortune most doctors and lawyers never reach. And I am going to break down the 3 specific tools the American financial system hands to ordinary workers that nobody back home in India ever teaches us about. We will look at why time matters more than income, why one boring decision made decades ago outperforms almost every flashy investment people chase today. Growing up in India and later moving into the world of American finance, I remember the exact moment I first read about Ronald Read and genuinely could not believe what I was looking at. A man who drove a rusted old car, wore a safety pin to hold his coat together, and worked physically demanding jobs his entire life, yet had quietly amassed a fortune larger than most celebrities and professionals ever accumulate. What made his story even more remarkable was that he was not secretly investing in risky startups or gambling on individual stocks. He was simply buying small, steady positions in large, stable American companies over a period of more than 60 years and never once panicking or pulling his money out. The lesson buried inside his story is not about luck or genius. It is about a financial behavior that almost anyone can copy. And that single behavior is exactly what we are about to break down together in detail. The first concept every ordinary American millionaire understands is something called compound interest. And the easiest way to picture it is like a snowball rolling down a hill. It starts small, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow. And that extra snow helps it pick up even more snow faster and faster, the longer it keeps rolling. Backed by data from the Federal Reserve and decades of S&P 500 index performance, money invested in a broad American stock market index has historically grown by approximately 10% annually over 50+ years, which means a relatively small amount invested consistently in your 20s can grow dramatically larger than a much bigger amount invested later in your 40s. Ronald Read himself never made large individual investments. He made small, boring, repeated purchases over 6 decades. And it was the time his money spent compounding, not the size of any single investment, that built his $8 million fortune. If you are watching this in your 20s or 30s, the single most actionable thing you can do today is start putting even a small, consistent amount into a low-cost index fund immediately. Because every single year you wait is a year of compounding you can never get back. But here is what most people completely miss about this. The American government has actually built specific accounts into the financial system designed to help ordinary workers compound their money without paying as much in taxes. And almost nobody outside the United States knows these tools even exist. The first is something called a 401k retirement account, which is an employer-sponsored account that lets workers set aside a portion of their paycheck before taxes are taken out. And in many cases, verified by official Internal Revenue Service guidance, employers will actually match a percentage of what you contribute, which is essentially free money added directly on top of your own savings. The second tool is called an individual retirement account, commonly used by people who either do not have access to an employer plan or who want to save additional money beyond their 401k. And both of these accounts allow your investments to grow without being taxed every single year the way a regular savings or brokerage account would be. The American financial system has tools built into it that most Indians, whether living in US or back home, simply are not aware of. And understanding even just these two accounts puts you years ahead of someone who is only saving money in a basic checking account. Now, this is where it gets genuinely interesting. The actual investment vehicle most of these wealthy but ordinary Americans use is something called an exchange-traded fund, which is essentially a single basket that holds tiny pieces of hundreds of different American companies all at once. Meaning instead of betting on one company succeeding or failing, you are quietly betting on the entire American economy continuing to grow over time. This approach was popularized by a man named Jack Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, who built an entire company around the idea that ordinary investors do not need to pick individual winning stocks. They simply need to own a small slice of the whole market and let time and consistency do the heavy lifting. Jack Bogle's index fund philosophy is now responsible for trillions of dollars in retirement savings across America, and it remains one of the most quietly powerful and most boring wealth-building tools available to anyone with access to a basic brokerage account. The actionable step here is simple. Open a brokerage account, choose a broad market index fund instead of trying to pick individual stocks, and set up an automatic monthly contribution. So the decision to invest is no longer something you have to remember to do manually. Let me take this one step further, because the next part changes everything. The real secret that connects every single one of these ordinary millionaire stories is not intelligence, income, or insider knowledge. It is simply consistency maintained over an extremely long period of time, without emotional panic during market downturns. A study referenced by Fidelity Investments on their own retirement accounts found that the best performing investor accounts often belonged to people who had either forgotten about their accounts entirely or who had passed away, meaning the accounts simply sat untouched and compounding for years without anyone interfering through panic selling. This single insight is the real reason Ronald Read and a legal secretary named Sylvia Bloom, who quietly built a $9 million fortune the exact same way while working an ordinary job in New York for over 6 decades, we're able to outperform far wealthier, far more educated people who constantly tried to time the market and react emotionally to every piece of financial news. So to quickly recap what we have covered, compounding rewards time more than income. 401k and individual retirement accounts give you tax advantages most people overlook. And low-cost index funds let ordinary people quietly own a piece of the entire American economy. But there is one final number from Ronald Read's story I have not told you yet, and it is going to completely change how you think about your own starting point. Here is the piece that nobody talks about. When researchers and journalists finally examined Ronald Read's actual investment history after his death, they discovered something almost nobody expected. He never earned a high salary, he never received a large inheritance, and his portfolio was built using shares that, in many cases, cost him only a few $100s at a time, purchased patiently across more than 65 years of his working and retired life. The real revelation is not that he found some secret formula, it is that he started early, reinvested everything, never touched his investments during downturns, and simply let an ordinary, unremarkable income compound quietly in the background of an otherwise completely unremarkable life. This is exactly the kind of story that connects directly back to why I wanted to make this video in the first place. Because growing up outside the United States, nobody ever told us that wealth in America is rarely built through dramatic risk-taking, and is instead built through ordinary people making quiet, boring, repeated decisions that nobody around them even notices until decades later. Ronald Read's $8 million fortune was not an accident or a miracle. It was simply patience, consistency, and time, applied to tools that are sitting available to almost anyone reading this right now. If there is one thing I want you to remember from this entire video, it is this. You do not need a high income to build real wealth in America. You simply need time, consistency, and the willingness to start with whatever you have today rather than waiting for the perfect moment that may never come. If this video shifted the way you think about money even slightly, send it to one person in your life who keeps saying they will start investing later, because that one share might be the exact push they needed to finally begin. Subscribe me for more videos related to personal finance and press the bell icon so you never miss any update. Until then, keep building quietly, because that is exactly how the real wealth in America gets made.